Hi, Zizaran here with another video for the upcoming Crucible League, and this is a collab with the Righteous Fire God Pohx himself. If you're not familiar with Pohx, literally the Lord of Righteous Fire. This is an amazing build for boss killing, for mapping, and if you have any disability related to your hands or how many controls you can use, is a great build to play with one button. First, I'm going to let Pohx walk you through how to play the build and some pros and cons of this build, but it really is a powerhouse. Take it away, Pohx.
You can expect 80,000 plus armor with endurance charges on your Juggernaut, making you extremely tanky to physical damage. Very high maximum res, 80% plus, even further, especially if playing Trade League. Very high life regen, somewhere around 20 to 30% of your maximum life per second. A very smooth playstyle of just gliding through your maps. It's good for most league mechanics in Path of Exile. Some cons would be, if you're using my leveling guide, you are going to have to make a mule. Damage is limited compared to other builds since we try to make our character well-rounded, and we do have limitations here with how we scale. Colors can be annoying in the early game since we are prioritizing armor on a Juggernaut, but we want a lot of blue sockets. However, to alleviate this, we do sort of try to just use armor energy shield at the beginning. So during the leveling stages of this character, we're going to be using a combination of skills. Primarily, we're going to be dropping a flame wall and shooting our rolling magma into it. Another thing we'll be using is Holy Flame Totem. Later on, as we get a little higher level around Act 2, you actually get to start running your Righteous Fire. This is due to the new Fire Mastery changes. After we have our new Righteous Fire set up, we can also go ahead and switch at level 28 to Armageddon Brand. Armageddon Brand is going to be less damage, but the clear is going to feel significantly better. Now don't worry, you should not be degenning like this in the new patch. Remember that this character is still on the older version, so I don't have the new masteries yet.
If watching these videos helps you have a good league start, please consider subscribing to the channel as it helps me and my team a lot. So this is using Path of Building, a third-party program. If you don't know how this works or how to get it, you can click this link here. As normal, Pohx has done a beautiful way of step-by-step leveling, loads of info. Everything is very, very easy to see as you're leveling, including things like Ascendancy and which Ascension you take at what point. It's very easy to keep on top of what skill points you should be taking at what points. And if you go to the skill sets, there are loads of skills here, and it's pretty easy to follow what gems you should have at what level. Very, very beautiful. Same with items. Make sure you check out all the item sets, like early on there's examples, but also pay attention to the red, green, and yellow text that has loads of extra information for new players if you're not 100% sure what you're doing. Make sure there's loads of things answered in the notes as well, things like auras, etc., how that works, but there's actually a lot more than that because Pohx has an entire Wikipedia dedicated to this build. That's right, you literally have everything that you could possibly want. Pretty much anything is answered. You can control F, search for the problem you're having, it's probably answered, and if it's not there, Pohx is probably more than happy to answer it live. And there's a crafting section for how to craft all your gear. So this is some insane in-depth.
So after you finish the campaign, you're going to go ahead and jump into maps. Here's going to be an example of what clearing should be like in the very early stages when you still have only 4 links. So primarily we're going to be clearing with our Righteous Fire. We're going to be using Fire Trap for extra single target, but most of the time we're going to be using our Flammability alongside with our Infernal Cry. Simply shield charge through or pick the mobility skill that you prefer. When you actually encounter a pack that's a bit more tanky, like a magic pack or a rare monster, that's when you're going to use your other skills. So let's go ahead. Here's a blue pack with a rare pack. We're going to Infernal Cry and the whole pack explodes. This is also very good for when you're encountering shrines or just very large density packs. On the rare targets, you want to go ahead and also throw your Fire Trap.
One of the most important things for this build, and I can't stress this enough, some players might now be asking, why are we using minions deal 75% increased damage? And that is because of this node here. Increases and reductions to minion damage also affect you. So you can see the damage drop there by 500k just from that node. And that's because it basically turns the minions deal 75% increased damage into increased damage. So it's just global increased damage for your character, which in turn affects our Righteous Fire. So incredibly strong, and that makes it it's pretty easy to craft good gear. This would also be the same as fire damage, and the most important stat for the build is fire damage over time multiplier.
One of the biggest concerns players have when playing Righteous Fire is that they feel they don't have enough damage to actually participate in a lot of the boss fights. Whereas this is not true, it's definitely true that Righteous Fire leans on the lower side of boss damage, being a damage over time build. But don't worry, this go around in the POB, I've tried to make as much possible optimizations to give you a lot more boss damage at certain breakpoints. A lot of this kind of comes down to utilizing your curses, your sources of exposure, your infernal cry for cover and ash, constantly throwing your fire traps, keeping the targets inside the Righteous Fire, but it's still a very, very easy playstyle. This character that I'm showing now has significantly less damage than the newer versions in the POB, and this is not even including the Crucible tree. Just note though, if you want to scale your single target really high, it is going to be expensive. So once you've farmed some currency, or you've gotten yourself Legacy of Fury is going to allow your clear to kind of go to the next level. As you're running through your maps, essentially what your Legacy of Fury is going to do is it's going to explode monsters, creating kind of like an extra damage over time for you. This makes clearing really buttery smooth. One of the nice advantages of Righteous Fire, especially on the Juggernaut version, is you can scale your defenses very quickly, especially against physical damage bosses, and even elemental ones too. So if you're a little concerned because you don't know all the boss attacks, you haven't figured out the boss patterns, well don't worry, Righteous Fire can help you here. Juggernaut allows you to basically just soak up massive amounts of physical damage, and even convert that physical damage into sources of life regeneration.
I hope you guys enjoy this collab with Pohx. I love showing you guys this build and all the hard work he's done with Righteous Fire. It really is amazing. Make sure you check him out. It's Pohx everywhere. We'll link to everything down below so it's easy to find him. But really, really cool dude with really cool content. Thank you guys so much for watching. If this helps you have a great league start, please consider subscribing to both their channels. So, sub if you liked the video, but more importantly, try to die less than I do.